Friends, welcome back to my channel Varteta Learning Platform, and in this series I'm going to tell you about the TypeScript. So today is the very first session on the TypeScript, and in this lecture we are going to discuss the basic things about the TypeScript. What is TypeScript and what are the advantages and what are the features provided by the TypeScript. So today's video we are going to discuss that, and in next video we will see how to install the TypeScript and what editor you can use to test your TypeScript code. Okay, so let me just start this. Okay, so this is me, Vikash, Shakya. You know me, so other video playlists are also there. You might be following there as well. And let's start about the TypeScript. So if we talk about the TypeScript, it's nothing but a superset of JavaScript. You might have written the code in the JavaScript, and it's a very lightweight programming language which helps you to write some dynamic code for the web pages, and it was designed by the Anders Hazelberg. So who was this Anders Hazelberg? Basically, he was the chief architect of C# language. He was in the Microsoft, and you know that C# is a language developed by the Microsoft. So he was the chief architect, and that is the guy who has developed this TypeScript language. So you can understand the level of that kind of language he might have developed. And it's an open source. You don't need to pay any kind of fee for using the TypeScript. It's an open source. And the other thing is, like I always already told you, like it's a superset of JavaScript. So if this is a superset of JavaScript, then that means that any valid JavaScript is a TypeScript as well. Okay, and you know that JavaScript, you don't have the facility to have object-oriented programming features like classes, interface, and static typing and all that. But in case of TypeScript, it provides you the additional features like classes, interfaces, and the object-oriented programming features, and also it provides the static typing. What does it mean by the static typing? We will discuss in the coming videos. In the coming slides. So let me move. Okay, so basically, you know that when you run the JavaScript, it basically runs in the browser. You know that JavaScript is supported in various browsers, like it's supported in the Edge, it is supported in the Internet Explorer, it is supported in the Chrome. So anywhere where your JavaScript is running, that browser is supporting the JavaScript. So it runs in the browser. What runs in the browser? The JavaScript. I'm not talking about the TypeScript. It's JavaScript which runs in the browser, but it doesn't run, which means the TypeScript doesn't run in the browser. JavaScript runs in the browser, but TypeScript doesn't run in the browser. Basically, TypeScript, any TypeScript code that you write, that is first gets compiled into the JavaScript. After getting compiled into the JavaScript, then that particular JavaScript code, it starts running in the compatible browser wherever the JavaScript can be executed. Like it may be Chrome, it may be Edge, it may be Internet Explorer. So anywhere where the compatible JavaScript code can execute, or you can say the JavaScript code wherever it can be executed, at that place your compiled TypeScript, which is basically a JavaScript, when you compile the TypeScript files, then it gets converted into a JavaScript file. So that JavaScript, after the compilation of the TypeScript file, that JavaScript is getting executed in the browsers. Okay, so let's move ahead. Okay, now let's see what is the file type for the TypeScripts. So the extension for the TypeScript files is .ts. Just like for JavaScript, it's .js. For the TypeScripts, it's .ts. Okay, so the compiler basically which transpiles this .ts files into .js files. We already discussed that any TypeScript file is first converted into a JavaScript file. So the compiler which converts this .ts file to .js file is known as TSC. You can see this is the name of that compiler, tsc.exe. tsc, it's a script basically, not exe. So this is the TypeScript compiler, which is also known as the transpiler, right? And this compiler, which is the compilation process done by this TSC, which means the TypeScript compiler, is known as the transpilation, and this compiler, TypeScript compiler, is known as transpiler. So it's transpiler and it's transpilation rather than compiler and compilation. Okay, so transpiler and transpilation. Okay, so when you have to convert any TypeScript file like test.ts, it is a TypeScript file having the extension .ts, and if it has to be converted into a JS file, then you need to run this command tsc test.js and test.ts and then test.js. So this is the name of the input file and this is the name of the output file which will be generated. And you know that the output file is always a JavaScript file for the TypeScript file. Okay, so this was the basic information, and we will see in detail in the next video about how to, in the coming videos, like how to compile these and what are the various options available to you, how these are compiled. Okay, so let's move to the next slide. Okay, so let's discuss about some basic TypeScript features here. So first feature is that it is portable. Portable means any environment wherever your JavaScript is supported in the browser, whether it is your Linux platform, whether it is your whether it's Windows, anywhere, wherever the JavaScript is supported, TypeScript will be supported there. So it's portable. And the second feature is it provides static typing. So let's see what is the static typing. You know that in case of JavaScript, it's always a dynamic typing, which means a dynamic typing means until your JavaScript code runs, any variable that you have declared inside your JavaScript code, the type of that variable will not be decided, which means that any variable type in JavaScript is decided at runtime. But in case of TypeScript, the type of the variable is decided at the compilation time. I mean, it is a static typing, right? So this is the way, this is one of the example how you declare the variables and how you define the variable in the TypeScript code. So with the help of let, I'm defining the variable here, and the name of the variable is name, and here I have given the value, right? So here at the time of compilation, even before it is running into the browser, at the time of compilation itself, and when it will be compiled into the JavaScript, it is known at the compile time that what kind of variable it is. It is a string variable, right? If you write this thing or if you write this thing, both are same and type decided at the compiled time. Okay, it's time rather than type. So at compilation, compile time, it's not compiled, it should be compiled time. So at the time of compilation, you are aware like what is the type of this variable that you are using. And this we already discussed, like it supports object-oriented programming, classes, interfaces, inheritance, all the object-oriented features that are available to any of the object-oriented programming language. All those are supported by the TypeScript. And the most important feature, which is usually asked in the in your Viva examination or in your interviews, is around this thing, strict null check. So basically, what does it mean, strict null check? So strict null check means you cannot left any variable undefined. Okay, in case of JavaScript, you can write something like var a and you can leave it, right? But in case so this is undefined. But in case of TypeScript, in TypeScript file, in any TS file, any .ts file, you cannot leave any variable just like this. It will be considered as undefined and it will throw an error. Okay, so if it is throwing an error, then it doesn't mean that it will not compile into the JavaScript code. It will be compiled into the JavaScript code. It's just like it will show the error that is there in the TypeScript code. Okay, so that we will discuss in detail in later when we will discuss about the various TypeScript concepts. So as of now, you can just remember, just make a note that none of the variables can be left undefined. So suppose if you have written something like let number is equal to undefined, whatever underline, just see that let number is equal to undefined, then it is not acceptable. If you write something like null, then it will be acceptable. You cannot leave undefined. right? So it always checks for the null. If this is, it cannot be left undefined, it should be null, right? If you are not going to provide any value to this variable, then it should be null. It cannot be left undefined. But if you want to leave it undefined, then you can do something like this: let num number, this pipe symbol, and then undefined is equal to undefined. This is very important. Sometimes it is asked in your examinations, or during your interview, or any whenever you give any aptitude test for any programming language in any organization. Then in that case, this kind of statements are asked. Okay, so you need to remember this: let num number undefined is equal to undefined. This is the way if you want to leave it undefined, right? So this can be asked, like, although it's a strict null check thing, but how will you make a variable undefined, accepting undefined? So this is the way you can make a variable accepting undefined. Okay, let's move ahead and let's see about the TypeScript definition files. What are the TypeScript definition files? Okay, basically the TypeScript definition files you will mostly see in the node modules. Most of you guys, like if you have worked on the Angular, or in React.js, then or in Ember.js, or in Vue.js, then you might be aware about the node modules, right? So node modules contain the external sources for all those TypeScript files which are used. So it provides definition for external JavaScript libraries. Whatever external JavaScript libraries we are going to use, whatever functions are there, their declarations, their definition are given in the .d.ts files. Okay, and if you want to export any of your functions, if you want to write your own library, you can write like this: .d.ts with these extension file names. So this was all about the TypeScript basic details, and in the next video we will see how to use those editors, what are those editors, and how to install the TypeScript to use. All those things we will discuss, and afterwards we will start learning about the code in the TypeScript. Okay, so let's meet in the next video. Till then, have a nice day. Bye bye, and please like the video and subscribe my channel. You will find a lot of things on my channel, whether related to the algorithms, whether it is related to the Python, C++, or even we have the faculty for the JavaScript as for the Java programming language, C#, etc. Okay, so have a nice day, guys, and we'll meet you soon in the next video. Till then, have a nice day and bye bye.